Check out what we have in our Smuggler's Compartment. Welcome to the Star Wars Unlimited podcast, where we discuss how to outmaneuver your opponents. I'm Faith, and I'm joined by Jrod, Cqrbon, and his Dudeness. Before we begin, we want to say thank you for joining us on our journey to the release of Star Wars Unlimited. We now have over 200 subscribers to our channel on YouTube, so thank you for tuning in and joining us on this adventure, and we hope to keep producing some great content for you.
Thanks, guys.
This week we will go over the products that will be available for Spark of Rebellion, what we plan on getting, and the decks and formats that we plan on looking forward to and shuffling up. Today we are going to start by talking about the 3 different content-focused products that you could purchase, which are the pre-release kit, booster boxes, and the 2-player starter. What are your guys' thoughts on having these 3 products as our first option to pick up?
Well, as the lifeblood of all trading card games, the booster box is what I am most excited for. It provides the most fun in a trading card game, even though typically I'm not a big purchaser of said boxes. I usually would buy singles or draft, but with this game to start off with, I'm going to be diving headfirst into the booster boxes myself.
This is really interesting for me because this is gonna be my first physical game. So previously, I've played digital games. You get your little packs and you do rewards, and so this works completely differently, right? And it would actually be owning and then also managing like a
Mhm.
physical collection of cards is definitely a new thing. But I've seen a bunch of people opening packs and stuff from the community event, and they got to take some. They each got a box, so they took some packs home. So some people have been opening them at home and showing videos, and it's really cool and exciting to see them do that. And I'm really excited to open cards myself for the first time. Yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to opening some boxes.
Yeah, it's gonna be hype. But the question I want to ask you, Carbon, is how does it feel knowing that this is gonna be actually pay to win?
It's interesting. It's definitely it's definitely a little different compared to digital
Actually pay to
games.
win. Pay to win.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, I think based on the top, like especially like just looking at like Premiere, right? Looking at the strongest decks right now, I think there's a good mix of kind of really cheap decks to build, right? And then really expensive decks to build, and then there's some that are in the middle. So if I'm on the competitive side of things, if I'm looking to win, I'm sure there's an option for me, right? That being said, I'm most likely going to pick a deck that I connect with more to try
That
and
speaks to
build.
you.
Yeah, so I'll have to find out what exactly that is. I definitely have a few in mind that I want to look at. So
Yeah, because like the key thing that we're missing in all this actually is there is actually a secret 4th product available. It's called the secondary singles market, and that obviously is going to dictate a lot of what happens in the game in some ways to make these decks, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah, but
mean, one of the things though is that Carbon and I both come from Marble Snap, which I would argue is relatively pay to win as well. Like you can't just walk into that game and just buy all the cards, as they love to promote as a feature of their game and not as a negative part of their game. But yeah, so it's like I don't know. The interesting too is like when Carbon was like, "Hey Jrod," and like in a DM, he's like, "What binder should I get? Like what deck box should I get? Like what? How do I sort my cards?
Yeah, this is also
Like
new.
like it's like to me it was like I wasn't prepared for someone to ask me those questions because I'm just like haven't you played a card game? And he hasn't, and it's great. And it's like I actually love having him here and teaching him like the ways of like the trading card things and like I think when
Like
he
our little Padawan.
yeah, it's great. And like I think he got some of the deck boxes or the binder or something I suggested, and he was like, "Oh, no, it was the deck boxes." I think he got, and he was like, "Wow, these are actually super cool." And like I think I gave him the link to like the tower one that has like the deck, the spot up top for the deck, and the one below has like a little dice thing.
Little yeah.
And obviously we don't have access right now to the official FF or the official Game Genic stuff. But I definitely want to test out and see. But I haven't seen it yet, so I can't recommend it just yet. I'm sure it's great, but so I gave him ones that were a little bit cheaper budget wise, as well as the dice towers, I think they're called or something like that.
Sure.
Back
yeah,
to product focused and
Product.
content focused products. I'm really happy to see that there's only this kind of streamlined approach. I have been a little not happy with some other games having different kinds of booster packs, which can make it really hard and sort out with a bunch of SKUs. So I'm really glad they went with a more streamlined approach, especially in this first set. But I really hope that's something that they continue moving forward. I understand their idea of the pre-release kit, especially being the first set being out, but I'm hoping that they don't add too many more products in this first year, especially. I would like to keep it simple. I understand why they did a two-player starter, and I think that after listening to their stream that they talked about, I agree with their decision to make a two-player starter, and maybe for the first couple sets, I can see that. I do hope in the future they do one-player starters as well. And another line that I think I'd like to see is down the road would be like a Twin Suns premier pre-constructed deck. I think that'd be
Recon.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I think MJ in the Discord, he's one of the newer game developers. They said that currently there's no plans for a Twin Sun starter as they don't want to confuse SKUs and don't want to have too many. And I had kind of suggested like maybe like once a year kind of do like a best of like the format, like some of the best cards and like have like a deck with like 2 leaders that people can purchase to kind of like help them get into Twin Suns in a more economic fashion, like heading into year 2 was something that I had kind of like suggested for them to release. Maybe they even do like a heroism one, like a villainy one, so you can get started in either side of Twin Suns if you don't want to necessarily like dive too deep into, getting all the packs and all that stuff. Like maybe it's like a $20 to $30 product and you get, you know, 80 cards and 2 leaders, so you can go and play Twin Suns.
Or as Dan and Jason from Main Deck had talked about in their Galactic Ambition episode, what if you had Kylo and Rey and they were able to play together with like a partner mechanic, and then you were able to use both hero and villainy as like in the pre-con? I thought that'd be an interesting idea at least.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's something they're gonna have super early on because I think part of the balance structure within the game is having to pay extra for heroes and villainy cards in the other respective other deck. Like the villainy cards shouldn't be in heroism decks because they're not balanced for it as much. So I think having that in the first set might be something that could cause an issue. So it's a cool thing. They did it in Star Wars Destiny, but it's definitely, it's definitely something that I think that they could look into, but not necessarily something that has to that I think they would do in the first year.
So getting back to the products that we do have currently coming out, what do you guys have on order?
So I I asked what to order and I was told what to order. So have ordered 2 boxes and then I'm gonna try. I did not pre-order a starter set. I'm just gonna try and pick one of those up as needed because there's nothing in there that I'm gonna like urgently need, I think. So I'm gonna try to pick one of those up from my local game store. And then my dad is also gonna be playing this game and he got himself 2 boxes as well. So hoping to do a little bit of trading with him and kind of build our own decks together.
Yeah, if you want to know how to Skamaz your dad, let me know, dude. I'll help you out.
Kumaz? Yo.
No, we're not gonna do that. We're not.
No, I'm
We're
just
gonna.
kidding. No, you shouldn't Skamaz anyone when trading. You should always be fair and
Never.
nice. But yeah, I have Case and a 2-player starter on pre-order myself, which I'm super excited to open. Hopefully, we'll see some openings on the channel as well for that, which is part of the reason why I got a case. But also because like I want to make sure I have everything off rip, and even though I will eventually get it all through drafts and other like weekly play stuff, I want to make sure that I have most of it to be able to build decks right off the bat.
I've got a Command Game Gen X box, which I'm excited for, and the Game Gen X tokens. So I'm really excited to use those. And then I've got so far 3 booster boxes, and hopefully maybe gonna pick up a 4th one as long as my wife doesn't find out.
Mhm.
Hopefully, she doesn't listen to
I
the podcast.
I'm going super minimal boy, buying one singular. That's 1 booster box. I'm gonna do a couple pre-releases, some drafts, singles to make whatever deck I need. And I'm probably not even getting a 2-player starter and just try to pick those cards up off singles. Because I already got the leaders. Don't really need most of what's really in there. Because most of those cards are kind of just whatever.
Yeah.
Mahdi is I'm never playing Mahdi. Might play I Am Your Father, but probably not. Grand Moff Tarkins, he's playing Twin Suns maybe, but not really in constructed. The lightsabers are obviously hyper specific. The droids are kind of cool, but they were around early on in the spoiler season, right? And then like nobody plays with them anymore because you don't have to play with them anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are something that could be good later on. So it's I can see that, but you can also grab a lot of those cards from the weekly play stuff too, right? They
Exactly.
said that those are
Cyber.
going to be in that, so it's like you guys who aren't choosing to buy that, I'm just a completionist and a nerd, so I want it. But also, like my store gave a better deal if you bought like it's called like the mega bundle, so they gave us a case plus the 2-player starter for like a discounted price. I think it was like $5.75. I think it was plus tax. So at that point, it was like if I'm buying a case anyways, I might as well just get the mega bundle and get the 2-player starter
The
kind of
mega
included.
bundle.
Yeah, it was a pretty sick deal. So definitely doing that. But yeah, I mean, I would just wait to grab them from your weekly play stuff from your packs you get because I'm sure you're able to acquire them through there pretty easily.
Relay is the only one really that could see play constructed consistently. Because she's okay, but I mean, no one who's playing yellow hero. That's the problem. So
We'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see.
I mean, I think I'm still probably going to try and pick up the 2-player starter just to have. I think the cards that are specific to that starter, like you said, I don't think in Premiere, I don't think they're terribly exciting. But actually, I think the vast majority of them are actually pretty good in Twin
Twin
Suns.
Suns, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Um.
Buying the 2-player starter could be a nice way to like
Yeah.
get a lot of decent pieces
Yeah.
for Twin Suns deck or whatever.
So that being said, though, is if I'm mainly interested in Twin Suns, then I may just try and like split one with my dad if we only need one copy of each of those individual cards,
right.
right? Since we'll have the Luke Invader from the pre-release, right? We won't need that specifically. We'll just need those other cards. So I might look at like splitting a starter with him. I think that would be pretty cool.
So speaking of, what formats do you guys plan on playing the
But
most?
before we move on, I do actually want to note that the starter set is great, that it contains a complete set of all of the cards.
Mhm.
There's no
Yep.
need to buy 2 of these, multiple of these, like they were in previous FFG games. FFG was always known for having to buy
Mm-hmm.
2 of a base kit to get all
Looking
the
at you,
stuff you really
Destiny.
needed. So, like, this is definitely an improvement, and they should be applauded, and it should be said at least while we're speaking on the subject.
Yeah. Our two non-Destiny players don't know what we're talking about, but in Destiny, they had like starter sets that had like 2 out of the 4 you needed for the deck or whatever it was. It had like half of what you needed, so you had to buy 2 of them to get that specific card from the starter set. So you had to like basically spend like $40 to get 2 cards out of the thing. I remember like Hidden Motive was like a pretty popular card and one of the best dice removal cards in the format, and you had like it was like required, and the card was like $10 on itself because the rest of the starter was basically pointless, and that was the only card in there that was worth playing. So like solo cards were worth 10. So like if you bought 2, you just basically bought the decks. You were better off just like buying the starter deck at some points. So
So yeah, what formats do you guys plan on playing?
At first, mostly limited if I can, like all the drafts, all the time. I don't know how that's actually going to work out, but that's my plan. And then after that, obviously just Premiere, and Twin Suns on the side for casual. But like Premiere is where it's at.
Yeah, I'll say I'm personally probably mostly interested in Premiere and Twin Suns so far. Premiere, I just I like having more, I guess, control and using my own cards, I guess, like if that makes sense. Like I do enjoy limited. I have not played as much as these other boys so far, but it's it's very interesting. I do want to play some limited, but I think I really enjoy like building my own deck, like my own creation that I can use, multiple times, right? Bring to different events and keep working on it and improving it. And so that's kind of, I think Premiere and Twin Suns will give me the opportunity to do that.
yeah, our boy Parker on Twitter put this poll out of like which one you think your store will play more. And I clicked Premiere. 'Cause I think the store off the bat would probably play some Premiere, although typically the store I go to, they usually run like a sealed league where it's like an escalation league. So you start off with 6 packs and you build a deck. And like every
Uh,
week you could like add a pack to it. So you
yes,
can, yeah. So it's a pretty cool way to like,
that's very cool actually.
yeah. So that way people don't feel obligated to like spend a bunch of money to like buy into the game. They can kind of like everyone's on a fair playing level with card pool wise, anyways.
Right.
So we'll probably have that. But I mean, honestly, I want all of it. I want to draft. I want to play sealed. I want to play Premiere. I want to play Twin Suns. Like I just want to play. If I could find a store one day a week to each like Monday through Friday and just play every day and like in the weekend, like I would do it. Like, sorry guys, you're not gonna see me anymore. I'm just gonna be playing at
Playing
my
the
like local
game.
game stores, guys. Podcast is dead now. Sorry.
I think
R.I.P.
I think I'm gonna be more interested in Twin Suns as more sets come out, particularly probably after year one, and we've got the 80 card decks, and there's more cards in the pool. So I'm going to be sticking more to Premier and Limited myself. I just love games with Limited because it gives me a reason to open packs, and it gives this like interesting format. It's great for new people that they can open packs and everyone's at the same kind of, at least on the starting point, playing field. So I'll be playing those and then using those cards in Premiere is something that's pretty standard to me. I also do like just prefer 1v1s over multiplayer games. Maybe it's because I always feel like I got targeted.
Well, that's the best thing about Twin Sons, Faith, is that even if you get targeted in the beginning, they can't target you at the end because not everyone wants to target you because that means someone else is going to win and they might not win. So that's my favorite thing about Twin Sons is that I also get targeted a lot. So in multiplayer games, so it's like a nice balance of like you can only target me so much without losing yourself. So
All I know is next game absolutely targeting Faith the entire time.
So now that we know what formats you guys want to play, what are some of the decks that you're interested in building first?
For Premiere specifically, I have a few in mind. I think as far as like a fun deck, the deck I click with most is probably Chewbacca. So it's probably going to be some form of Chewbacca that I end up building. Now, Chewbacca is very bad. So unfortunately, so far. So if I want to bring something a bit more competitive for a cheaper option, I'm looking at maybe some kind of Sabine Green, which seems to be like a really strong deck and also one of the cheapest decks to put together. It has no legendaries and only a few rares. And then as far as like my most fun, quote unquote, like competitive deck, I'm looking at either like an Iden list. Iden does require some legendaries, I think, for her optimal
Laser
build. So
Blast.
she's Super Laser Blast, maybe Avenger. If you're playing green,
Vader.
there's Darth Vader in green.
Vader
Yeah,
if you're doing green.
yeah. So it depends on what like aspect you decide to go with. But yes, I mean she seems cool. So those are kind of the three decks I'm looking at for Premiere that I'm interested in building.
yeah, I
Would
would.
you go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, I would echo the Sabine deck. It's just a really super budget deck, and obviously we don't have prices, but it's like it's all commons and uncommons and a couple of rares. Like it's not going to be
It's 10
super
rares
expensive.
anyways.
Yeah, so it's like you're it's like I think everyone's just gonna have that deck, and it's gonna be a deck that you're gonna need to make sure that your deck's gonna beat because everyone's gonna be playing it in the beginning, just because of how cheap it is. Me getting a case, I'm likely gonna be playing really depending on what I pull, like whether it's Boba Fett or Iden or whatever. I definitely want to get my hands on 3 green Vaders as soon as possible. I think that card's really good, and it's only gonna get better as we get better units because he becomes way better the better units he can pull. Like the best things with him you can be pulling is Death Trooper and Snow Trooper, and like Boba Fett unit's pretty solid too. But I would actually say Boba Fett unit is worse to pull than the other 2 guys I mentioned by a good margin. So like the better on play effects that we get with Vader pulling is like pretty important. And obviously when we get more sets, we'll get more of that stuff in those colors. So he'll only get better over time. And I think it's a card that I personally want to invest in, thinking that like the value of the card could go up over time because of that.
I like having variety and I like having access to at least every color. So I'm probably looking at making like 4 decks to start off with, something like Han red and blue green. That way I've got all 4 aspects on the hero side, and then a red Krennic and a Boba green probably. So I have all the aspects on the villain side. That's what I'm probably gonna be starting off building.
I mean, yeah, they've already touched upon it. My name for the deck is the Mean Green Bean, and it's probably going to be great. I don't know if I'm actually going to build that version or just the Leia version because I like just Leia more as a character lore wise kind of a thing. But it's going to be one of those for sure. Some red green hero list that's going to be super cheap, super red, doing all the stuff I'm going to be doing. If I have a secondary deck past that, it's definitely going to be IG88 double red boys. Is that deck, if you lose to that deck, you get to just clown on that person on the spot.
Shout out
And
to Impossible German, bringing that to his store championship.
and it's just fantastic. I love beating people with IG88 actually. It's my favorite thing to do in the game so far. So, and that deck only requires the 3 aggressions as far as like what could be pricey, and I don't think those are going to be too pricey anyways.
I would agree with Jrod's comment about getting Vaders quickly. I think that's something that I'm looking forward or wanting to do and trying to look forward to do right away because I agree. I think that that card is pretty strong staple in what Green Villain's trying to do, and Green Villain's one of the best colors combos in the game. Looking at card prices, I know we don't have any kind of hard prices yet for
Yeah.
cards, for singles, for decks. What is a price range though that you're hoping that decks will kind of come out to be?
I honestly have no idea. I don't have the slightest clue.
I'll use Magic as a gauge for just a little bit. Like I know in Standard, back when I played, when Standard was hopping, the average deck ranged from like 400 for like the super hyper control decks that had all the planeswalkers, down to like $100 for like the aggro decks. And I actually think that this game's going to be, I hope, significantly cheaper,
Yeah,
because
I would think that.
that was back before, like, they only had like foils and non-foils back then. Like they don't have any of like the hyperspace or any of like the,
Borderless treatments and stuff.
yeah, like, so for like, they didn't have the extra collectability cards in the sets, where like this game is coming out with those already involved. So you have the regular kind, you have the hyperspace, you have the foil, you have the hyperspace foil, and then for leaders you have the showcases. So they're adding a lot of extra collectability to the set, where people would want to buy extra boxes even if they already own all the base cards, which should lower the value of the cards. I'm hoping ballpark range that like the top end, like best like legendary card in the set, whatever's the most playable, which I'm guessing is going to be Vader, should be in the ballpark of like $20 to $30 per card. You also only need 3 of them, where in other games you need 4.
Right.
So like that also will factor into how much a card will cost. So it could even be a little bit cheaper than that. But like if someone was like, hey, you have to pick a ballpark, $20 to $30 for like a Vader is where I'd put it. And I mean, we only need 50 cards as well. So I would hope that the decks, like the top end ones, are like at worst $200,
And I think
maybe 250.
we're talking about here the basic version of the card.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, not the
Yeah.
hyperspace, not the
If
foil.
if the top end legendary tops out at $20 for the base version, I'd say that's an absolute win.
Yeah, I would agree 100%, because then for $60 you can get a playset, which sounds like a lot. Like, and it is a lot
But
for a
like
card game, but
Destiny
like
in the day was like $50 for one singular legendary.
100%.
Needed 2 of them.
Yeah. So
So
it's definitely, I think, will be good in general. But $60 to a lot of people is still a lot of money, so I don't want to detract that from anyone. Like,
right, yeah, it's definitely
you know,
not
it's not cheap, but
small, but
it's a
it
card game. You kind of know what you're getting into a little
right,
bit with it,
exactly,
right?
exactly, yeah.
And I
So
would say you don't have to play the decks that use the best cards. Not that they can still be good decks. I think, as you mentioned, aggro decks in a lot of other games do tend to be a little bit cheaper, and that kind of makes them both accessible to new players, and because they're so fast, they can definitely steal games and win games. So there's definitely an attraction. So you can make, I think, competitive, good decks that are a little bit cheaper, and then there'll also be budget decks that people will try to make as well, where they're going to try to find a little bit cheaper of an option, especially when you're starting out and have a smaller collection.
100%. And I definitely think that like Sabine or Leia are very reasonable options for like your first budget deck to play and go to a store and try to like earn more packs. That's like the best thing to do, right? Is you build a budget deck for like $50 or whatever for like Leia. Let's say, assuming you have like no cards and you went out and you just went to like TCG Player and you just bought all the cards for the one deck, right? And you went to spend $50 on a Leia deck. You had everything you needed. Now you go to the store, you spend $5. So you're $55 in, and you try to win the event with that deck. Let's say you win, you get like 4 packs, and you open up some more packs. Like that's how you build a collection if you're on a budget. Is you want to try to find a deck that you can go and win some locals and win some packs or credit from the local store, and then you either earn packs or you buy singles from them if they happen to have singles, and kind of go from there. That's how I would do it if you're on a budget.
Carbon, I'm interested to hear what you will be trying to do with what you're thinking prices will be, especially because you don't have maybe the experience of
Yeah.
physical card games.
I have not said anything about this topic because I have no idea what I would say about this topic.
Got no clue.
Yeah, it's clearly, I think it's just gonna be a wait and see thing. I think the most interesting
Wait
thing
and
and a super positive thing I've heard about this game is what Jrod talked about already a bit about how there's so many different variants of these existing cards that it should keep the prices of the normal cards cheaper so people can get into the game more. And something Jrod didn't mention, but there's also, for some cards, there's also going to be like alternate art versions that you can get at your organized play, like in those little 3-card packs,
Right,
I believe, right? So
right.
some of the
I've
cards,
already seen
there's,
A-Wing and Sabine.
yeah, there's another additional version of those cards to hopefully drop those, prices down even lower, right? And we talked a little bit about, I think in a previous episode we talked about the Mace Windu's they're going to be given out as prizing for the store showdowns for this first set. And so that should make Mace a relatively, I think, easier card to get, right? Even and he's a legendary card, which is
Perhaps.
and a pretty solid legendary card. So I mean, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. I'm okay with spending some money, but I think my main goal is going to be to avoid going, too expensive on a deck. So if I'm going to have to invest a lot of money in a deck, I'm probably only going to build. I'm going to like choose one deck to build, most likely. Yeah.
I would say for Carbon and for other viewers in his similar boat, if you're going to be looking into singles at all on any of the sites, I would definitely wait a week or two until prices settle and kind of find their groove of what things are going to be closer to actual cost. Because if you try to go out and buy too early, you're definitely going to be buying at a peak in like that first week or so.
Yeah.
So I would definitely recommend waiting about 2 weeks before you really start looking at the purchasing singles. Try to convince your store that you're going to be playing at to do some kind of like sealed or draft for those first couple of weeks.
Yeah. And with my
Drop.
and with me I'm getting 2 boxes, and my dad's going to be getting 2 boxes, like I said earlier. So between us, and he kind of, I think, wants to build a little bit different decks than I'm gonna be looking for. So I think between us, we should be able to, like, if I have legendary, that I'm not going to use, and he has one he's not going to use, but
Right.
we might be able to make that trade, and
Mhm.
and and we have like a bigger pool of cards to work with, which I think is good. So
Two
we'll
boxes.
hopefully be able to build. Yeah, and I'm totally fine just building with what I have too, especially for like first month or two, right? I'm totally fine just building with the cards I've opened with my initial boxes or through limited play, right? I'm not necessarily in this, at least at the moment, to be like hyper competitive or anything. I really just love the game, and I just want to get some cards and build some decks is what I'm here for. So, but yeah, I'll definitely be sure to wait a little bit before I take a look at singles, because I just know the card that comes to mind is like, if I want to play Chewbacca, I probably need Luke Skywalker, who's a really strong blue hero legendary card.
Falcon.
And
Yellow.
yeah, Falcon if I play yellow. We'll have to see what aspect I end up going into. But that's the card that I'm like, it would be really cool if I could pull one or two of those, then I wouldn't have to buy those down the line, right? So yeah, we'll see. We'll just have to see what
Well,
happens.
hopefully we all pull a legendary at our pre-release, and then it's like, oh yeah, yeah, let's go.
I'm super excited for pre-release, man. I already have like 3 or 4 planned out, hopefully. So like we'll see. I'll be playing a lot.
Just a quick question. What do you guys think the top 3 most expensive cards will be in a month?
Vader card. I mean, potentially just Vader, Luke.
Falcon?
No, I'd
Boba
lean
Fett.
more towards Boba Fett or Super Laser Blast, I think.
I don't think super. I think it's definitely going to be
Super
the
Laser Blast
known
gatekeep.
characters.
Super Laser Blast gatekeeps an archetype.
Yes, but Super Laser Blast doesn't have fanatic fans that love that character that want that character. So I think that will
Or from a gameplay perspective, I think that one we push back.
sure. The other thing, okay, so my other argument for gameplay reasons would be that Laser Blast isn't always a 3 of in every deck. I've seen a lot of guys who've been playing a lot of Iden who were just playing 2 Laser Blasts.
Two ofs, yeah.
So like we're like Boba Fett's always a 3 of, Vader's always a 3 of, Luke's always a 3 of, Falcon's always a 3 of. So it's some number of those 4 cards. I think Luke, Vader, Falcon, and Boba Fett are I think the 4 like, top cards. You can put them in almost any order you deem fit, and I don't think anyone will really argue too much about it. I do think Vader's probably the best. If I had to pick, he'd be
Yeah.
like my
Do
number
you
one.
do you think if one particular, card is really sought after by collectors for their hyperspace foil versions or whatever, does that have an impact on their base price, the base version price at all, or just skyrockets the hyperfoils and stuff like that?
I think it'll more skyrocket the hyper foils. I think what it because people opening for collectors and collecting, what it will do, it will lower everything because all they're doing is opening boxes for the super specific one they want, like the hyper foil
Right.
one or whatever,
Mhm.
and they're trying to rip that and selling the rest to get
Kitty,
more boxes to keep that
right.
like
Keep it going.
going.
Keep it going. Yeah, right.
So they're just gonna open product and put more into the pool for people who want to just play the game, which is great. I think it's like a great aspect of
That's a very good thing.
yeah for everyone because obviously they get the card they want at some point, and then everyone else gets cheaper cards for themselves to play the game, which is amazing. So
Yeah, it is a delicate balance, the player versus collector act that you have to do to try to make sure that both are happy and they both feed into each other in a positive way. It
Real
does seem
talking.
it does seem like we're all on the book for spending a good amount of money on this game. So what are your long-term expectations for this game?
I mean, like I said, this is my first physical game. So in terms of like, I guess budget, I'm gonna have to wait and see a little bit. I absolutely love this game gameplay wise, and I'm gonna keep playing it for as long as I can. I think roughly about that 1 to 2 box mark, I could probably keep that up, and with some limited play here and there, right? It I will say, especially for me, it's been a little bit more of an investment up front because I've had to get a bunch of other stuff that I did not have before. So I have like sleeves and deck boxes, like Jrod is saying, some mats, some like storage options for cards and stuff like that these guys already have, right? So that, I mean, that was a good decent chunk of change, but now that we're at this point, I'd like to maintain, roughly 1 to 2 boxes and keep up with the game that way, and just, upgrade or maintain, 1 or 2 decks, and then maybe like one Twin Suns deck.
And that's pretty much the same spot I'll be in. It seems pretty
Think
reasonable. I don't need a whole lot. I just need my one. If I just have my one good deck to play, I'm a happy boy.
Yeah.
think
Like,
what really excites me is seeing the commitment that FFG has, hearing that they're already working on set 7, 8, 9, and that they're committed to this game until 2027 at least. Like, really helps me look and think about, okay, this seems like something that's going to be around for a while and have some staying power. I also really like the idea of having 3 sets a year. That means that really I could spend more money on certain sets. And if I have the same amount of money that I'm spending on 4 sets or 3 sets, I can just enjoy a set a little bit longer and a little bit more.
Yeah,
Yeah, 3 sets a year is a great move compared to 4, I think.
100%. I think 3 is like a good mix because you get like 2 months of playing with it, and then you go, okay, start getting a little like dull, and then you get some more spoilers, and you go, okay, good spoilers kind of happen, and it's like so every like you have the release, which you're excited for, then you have like 2 months, then spoilers, then that kind of starts dying down when
And
spoiler
then
season
3 is
ends,
the store showdown too.
and then yeah, so like I think that I think 3 is like the perfect number, and I hope they actually like never change that. I would be okay with like sets for like maybe Twin Suns or something like that, like some mini sets for like that, but like nothing too crazy. I think like the max they should do for like total sets, and like when I'm saying sets is like not like full like competitive sets, but like a Twin Suns like only card set, like which like all about based on multiplayer, like something like that. I think they'd be okay like once a year, and then maybe some other product,
Yeah, like
something
year
like that.
5 having like an anniversary set or something, I could see that
Yeah,
just to have players access the older cards.
right. But for me to answer the question, I guess I suppose this first set I'm definitely going deep in because I'm the kind of person that like kind of wants to play set every single card. So I can just build whatever deck I want. That's just I'm a crazy man like that. And that's what I'll probably end up getting to. I definitely think that the next couple sets I'll probably will get less boxes. I might not buy a case every single set because I, do play a lot and I do typically do well in the events. So I shouldn't need to necessarily always buy, a case to get my set, and obviously once I buy this case, I'll have a lot of extra stuff at some point to trade off as well, so I'll be able to, through trading or whatever, acquire more cards that way, so or selling them and buying what I need or whatever, so, I'm not,
It Okay, so wait. How many I guess we're not statistically likely between all of us to get a single showcase, but I mean, there's a possible that one of us gets a showcase.
well, I mean,
Gonna
I
make
think
those
based on
poggers.
their odds, I think, assuming perfect distribution for our little group of people, I think one of us should get a showcase.
We'll have 12
So
boxes, which and it's 1 in 12 boxes. So yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so like one
so
of us might get one, and then
yeah,
like depending on which one you get and how soon you get it, could fuel the rest of the year's purchases.
yeah,
or I could get a showcase Chewbacca, and then that would dictate the rest of my purchases for the year because I have to support build the deck to support him.
so as the person I forget, are you getting a case you said, or how much you said 3 boxes you said?
I said 3.
3,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah, yeah.
4.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm the most likely person to end up with the showcase, which I will not
You
get
are.
one because I am not very lucky when it comes to boxes, which is why I typically don't open sealed product and I buy singles.
Right,
Because
right, right.
like I remember back to my Magic days, I had a buddy who would walk in, I'd crush him in all the events. This is my best friend, so I can say this. I'd crush him in all the events, most of the events. He beat me once in a while, but most of the events I'd crush him, and like I would win like 10 packs or whatever, and he would win like 3 packs. And he would absolutely always pull like the foil planeswalker. Like he'll
Yeah.
open up like a foil Leon of the Veil, like an Innistrad block, and I was just like, "Are you kidding me?" Like he won the weekly thing. We paid $5 and he got a foil Leon of the Veil, and I got a bunch of garbage. You know what I mean? So like, how's that even fair? I
Yeah,
won. I
it's
should
not
like.
fair.
I
Yeah,
didn't
it's
feel like
not
I
fair.
won. So I have very bad pack luck, so I don't expect my case to be very good. I just care about getting the base legendaries, maybe some cool hyper foils,
You happen to get him.
which I'll likely sell all of those personally because I don't really care for foiling too much. So I actually want my whole deck to be hyperspace.
Just regular.
Yeah, I'm super into hyperspace, like full art stuff. It's all
Hyperspace is really good. I love borderless full art stuff. It's just looks so good in your hand.
yeah. I can't imagine like, and everyone that I hear that went to the event is like, the cameras don't do it justice. Like you could see it in person. Like it's even better in
Mhm.
person. And like they already look amazing on camera. So I can't imagine them saying it looks better in person. But is it 2 weeks from now? Can we skip to that? Can we skip to the good
A
part?
little time traveling.
Yeah, right.
You could just go on a bender.
I don't know about that.
Well, let us know in the comments below which products you plan on picking up. Hit that subscribe button, and you'll be notified when we drop a new podcast, gameplay, or tier list video. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time on Outmaneuver.